Welcome to the podcast Running Toward. This podcast tells stories of ordinary people who couldn't look away once they saw the hidden crisis in foster care and the families impacted. Our guests share heartbreak that led them to take reluctant and unexpected small, faithful steps toward the most vulnerable in their communities. Not because they had a plan, and not because they felt ready, but because they couldn't unsee their pain. You'll hear how people living normal lives discover that getting closer changed them. Their comfort mattered less, their grip on uncertainty faded, and their faith got feet in quiet, everyday ways. Ending the crisis for one or for all isn't a quick fix. It's a long, slow, often messy journey alongside one of the most overlooked and misunderstood groups in our community. Running Toward gives you a front row seat to the hidden crisis in foster care and the families impacted, and to the ordinary people who choose not to look away. Hey, welcome back to the Running Towards podcast. I'm so excited today to have my friend Shiana here, and she's going to tell us about her journey in the foster care system and her family. And even, we're on podcast 13 now, and we got even a different story this time because all of our stories seem to be different. But similar in a shift of what she came into foster care with and how she came out of it, what she thought about biological family and how it played out completely different than she anticipated, like for many of us. And that really nothing prepares you for what you walk into. You just say yes kind of blindly, and then here we go. So I'm excited for you guys to hear her story and just learn a different side of foster care. So Shiana, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your household right now, married, kids, what you guys like to do for fun.
So married, my husband and I have been together, my husband Jermaine, and I've been together for 16 years, about married for 15 this summer. So long time together. And then we have 2 kids in our home full time and 2 kids in our home part of the time, which I know we're going to get into.
Yeah.
But the 2 oldest are twins and they're 5. And then we have Nash, who's my son, and he's going to be 4 next month. And then Alea will be 3 in July. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So not busy at all.
Never busy. And then there's ducks and chickens and dogs and cats and bunnies and a little farm.
All the things.
Literally.
You sound like one of my teammates backing down. I did get a plant, but I was like, I'm not getting another animal.
I just added raised garden beds. And my husband's like, what is happening? City boy, country girl. I'm like, I'm just reverting back to my roots.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, babe. You just didn't know. That's hilarious. Well, all right. So take me back to kind of before foster care existed in your life. What was that season of your life like? What was that kind of the steps that led you in?
Really, from a very young age, I actually, it sounds really weird, but I would get sick a lot. I had a lot of health issues when I was younger, and so I'd be home a lot, and I'd get my schoolwork done, and I would watch the show called Adoption Stories on TLC. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Wow, no.
But it was on there, and it painted this like beautiful, pretty bow picture of
Rainbows
what
and
adoption looked like,
unicorns.
right? But like, and I knew there's other things that come with that, but like at like maybe 12, 13, I was like, one day I'm going to adopt. And I used to tell my mom that all the time, like, I'm going to adopt one day. Like, I just know it. And I was like, whoever I'm marrying better just get on board, right?
Part of the program.
Like part of the program. But foster care itself, I didn't really, like, there were some people in our church that had fostered and adopted, and I didn't really know what it was until about 2014. My husband and I, we had looked into foster care because, we had been married for a couple of years and no kids. And so we were kind of like, we really want to be parents. And we had seen something on our church and we're like, let's go see what this is. Yeah. And we started taking classes with, I think it was called 4 Kids was the program. And it was at like Grace Point Church off 1604. And we started taking classes and we went every weekend. And I think they did a really good job of being more raw about foster care because they brought in real families that were currently fostering and like kind of showed you like
behind the curtain
and saying like, hey, there's, we had this kid for 2 years and he reunified and it was heartbreaking and I was crushed. And I was kind of like, okay, I have been through so many scares of like the pregnancy test never being positive, right? Thinking something, hoping for something, knowing I'm supposed to be a parent, and just like devastation. I was like, I don't know if I can hold a baby and love that baby because regardless of they're mine or not, I love kids. I've always loved kids. And I was just like, I don't think I can do that right now. And so we stepped away from it. in 2014, and then life became like super chaotic. So I feel like God was kind of like, you don't need that much chaos in your life. And then we went through a season of like really big loss. And really big loss, I mean, I lost my dad in 2017. My dad got really sick. I think it was 2015, and we did a lot of hospital stays, and I helped take care of him a lot, and it was really hard because my dad was only 59 when he passed. Yeah. We celebrated his 59th birthday, and then he passed away like 8 days later, so it was really hard because my dad and I were super close. And so like losing him and like waking up, and my mom and I are the ones who found him, was really tough. And the night before, we had said a prayer that basically said, please, God, like heal him, or like take him, because it was awful. Like it was really, really bad. And, and so, and then a year after that, we lost my father-in-law too. And he was diagnosed, he had this growth going on, and he was like, no, it's benign, it's benign. Well, he wasn't telling the truth. He didn't want to worry everybody. And then he ended up at the hospital, and my mother-in-law, had some of her own health issues. She really struggled with addiction, and we didn't know how bad that was either, because they kind of kept it hidden from us. And so she didn't really know what was going on, and she goes, no, Dad's home on hospice care. We're like, what? Hospice care? And my husband called me, he goes, no, that's not what it is. And I was like, no, that's end of life care.
Yeah.
And so we had to go over, and then like we lost him in July when he was supposed to start chemo.
Yeah, that's hard.
And then like 6 months after that, I get a call from my mom, and she's telling me like, you need to go downtown to Fort Sam. Your grandma just had a heart attack, and you need to go there. And at the time, my mom was at the Mayo Clinic with my aunt. And
Holy moly.
Mom calls me the next day, and I'm thinking it's about my grandmother, who I just left the hospital from. And she goes, they found a mass in my brain. She had been dealing with these things, falling asleep at the wheel, all of these things. And so because I had just dealt with all the hospice care and everything with my father-in-law and end-of-life care, and I've dealt with all the funeral stuff for my father, like I handled pretty much everything for both. Like I'm always the person.
Yeah.
I became that person for because my aunt was going through health issues, my mom was going through health issues, my other aunt was dealing with some other things, and so it became Shiana's in charge, and I'm the youngest girl on that side, so I was just like, okay, I'm in charge.
Yeah,
great. And so I took that on. My grandfather was absolutely devastated because they were 63 years married, and my grandmother also was going through dementia at the same time.
It's a lot.
And so we ended up having her on hospice care.
So really good that you didn't start foster care at that season, because that was definitely not a season to add another layer to.
No. And then after my grandmother passed away, my husband was at the time living with his mom. We had been living with his mom together, but my mom couldn't drive herself because of her health issues and all the other medications. So I had to live with her. So we were living in separate houses, and then we'd spend like a night here with each other and a night. Like luckily we were in like, a 45-minute drive from each other, but like also like living completely separately because he needed to take care of his mom because of her addiction stuff. And we really got to see how bad that was.
Right.
And then I needed to take care of my mom. And so that was the end of 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then comes COVID.
Yeah. And then here comes COVID. And actually, I believe it was the end of 2019, we lost my grandfather. Wow. The one who just lost. And he ended up in hospice down the street from us. No, sorry, that was after. Wrong time frame. But 2020, I was at work and I was a personal trainer. So I was getting up at like 3:45 in the morning, every morning. And my husband calls me and goes, I'm taking Mom to the hospital. She can't walk. And I'm like, what? At 6 a.m.? Like, what's going on? And literally this was when the hospital started shutting everything down.
Yeah.
And she went in, she had lost the use of her legs, her liver and her kidney function was just gone. And then they took her out of ICU on Thursday night. And then Friday we got a call that she was coding.
Yeah.
And we go to the hospital and they're like, they were starting to limit who could go in. And I was like, you can't limit this. My husband is literally, his mom is on life support. And so I think I've seen now people pass away in every kind of way. Like my dad, overnight, immediate, peaceful, right? Yeah. He fell asleep and, and then my father-in-law was a long, drawn-out hospital. My grandmother, I saw her take her last breath. My mother-in-law, I watched her. Yeah. We had to make the determination to take her off life support. Yeah. And then the year after was my grandfather. Mm-hmm.
A little healing after that, I'm sure. Yeah. Just catch your breath. Mm-hmm. And then how does foster care come back up?
So it was at that point after my mother-in-law passed, it was about a month and a half after. My brother-in-law, he was talking to me and my husband on the phone, and he goes, you guys have been taking care of parents and grandparents and family in general for the last 5 years. Yeah. And he goes, I really think it's time you guys do something for yourself. And so Jermaine and I had the conversation. We're like, we really want to be parents. Like, let's talk and let's do all the tests to see what we can do. And I had been through a health journey. I had just lost 140 pounds, something like that. And so I was like, I don't want to do anything that's altering my hormones and stuff like that. And so I know that's some people's choice, but I came back to adoption's always been on my heart.
Right.
And so I said, we looked at foster care back then, but now we really know what loss looks like.
Right.
And we know that through our faith, we can handle anything, legitimately anything at this point. So, at the same time, I made a career decision to change. So I got licensed to become a real estate agent and a foster parent, at the end of 2020. It was nope. Okay, we found out for sure we could never be parents in the biological sense, but we knew that God was telling us we needed to be parents. And so foster care just was okay, this is it. This is the time.
Yeah. So you go into it the first time and realize you're terrified to lose somebody.
Absolutely.
Go into it the second time, you've already lost a bunch of people, realize that, the blow that those are, you're still standing. It was hard, but you weathered it. So did you have any other fears going into foster care the second time? Or were you it's already been thrown at us, let's go?
Yeah, pretty much at that point. I knew there was going to be hurt and hardness in it. Right. And I think because we had that raw image of what foster care was, we kind of knew what we were jumping into. And so at that point, both of us were just okay, whatever he throws at us, we're just going to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So also back in that season, what would you say was your thinking or were you thinking about biological family as you were thinking about heading into this and, fostering somebody else's kids? Was there, and thinking you'd come back, you'd let in with we want to adopt and, build a family, but also that's not the goal of foster care. And 50% of the time, that's not what happens. So,
right. We really didn't have, we did have some adoption expectations, for sure, but we also knew we had come to the point where we're whoever God places in our life, and if they're meant to be in our home forever, then that's what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But also biological family, I didn't know what that looked like, right? I had no idea. I hadn't really talked to a lot of foster families that had relationships with biological families, so I had no clue.
Yeah.
I had no expectation. I wasn't they're the enemy, but I also was just I don't really understand from a parenting perspective.
Right.
What that looked like or how, and I had known some friends, I'm in the sober community, that had lost their kids in their process, right, when we were in rehab and stuff like that. And I'd just be man, it's just I understood its power over me at the time, but I didn't understand how can you use your addiction over your children?
Yeah. How could it be that powerful?
Yeah. How could it be that powerful? So that was a different perspective for me.
Yeah. You definitely had a different lens that a reality that most don't heading into that. Yeah. So you guys get licensed, you start fostering. So what is that first placement you get placed with? What does that look like?
So our first placement, we had a month and a half that we got everything set up and we're okay, we don't know what we're getting, who we're getting, what's going to happen. And we got one little boy, literally started the new year. I think it was the 3rd. Got the call late at night. Okay, he's coming. And I was all right, 16 months old.
Yeah.
He didn't really have any words. He didn't have I found out later, like, he wouldn't eat food, and it was because he had only had crunchy food. And I was like, huh? Like, okay, this is weird. And like, just awful eczema where this kid was just scratching off his skin. And I have a nutrition background, so I like immediately was like, okay, I can do something about this, right? And so that one was really tough because we met the investigator, and then we had no contact for 2 months with anybody in CPS. No ad litem, no nothing. I had no idea what was going on with the case. Like, I would call people and be like, hey, like, I would like to know what's happening. And even my agency didn't hear anything until the day before he left. So he was with us for 2 months, and it was right before the 21 storm. No, right after the 21 storm. And they said, hey, they're coming to get him tomorrow. We had no idea that there was a kinship. And I was like, well, no one's come to see him. Right. No one's called me. And like, the investigator is still the person who came back. So we never had a caseworker.
Wow.
We never had anything. And I was just like, is this normal?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember I called my mom, who was like, hey, talk to this person at church. And it was Rachel.
Yeah.
And talk to her and, see if this is normal. And she was like, no, this is definitely not normal. But like, that's kind of normal.
It's not normal is normal.
Right. And so she's like,
unfortunately,
that's not how it's supposed to be. You should have had a caseworker. But I remember, like, very specifically being like, we immediately attached to this kid. Like, we had dance parties every night, and it wasn't like he slept in a crib in our room because he was terrified in his own. And so we had to, like, let him know that we weren't leaving. I think that was really the biggest thing.
He wanted to wake up and be able to
see us immediately. Yeah. And then, he was eating good. His eczema had cleared up. A lot of positive things for him, right? And every night this kid loved to dance, and I still have videos of him with our dance parties. Like every night we had dance parties with him, and that was like our nightly routine. And like, no one told me what it was like to go from being a parent to not being a parent, or to watch a kid being pulled from your home with a stranger and calling out mama.
And you can't explain it to him.
And I can't do anything. Right? Because at the time he was 18 months.
Yeah.
And he's reaching for me, and I can't tell you.
No.
I don't know where you're going. And I still haven't heard from him. He's the only kid that we don't get updates on to this day. And so that one was tough. And like, I remember being in my house and was like, okay,
it's too quiet.
We've been together for so long, just the two of us and our dogs, right? For so long. But having that presence in our home that was a little one that loved us immediately, like, and called us mom and dad, and just like, to have it pulled, the silence in my house was unbearable.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Well, that's there.
You're not the first. So don't worry. This is the real side of foster care. And that's that's ultimately what they need. People are like, oh, well, I can't foster because I would much. Yeah, that's exactly what we need you to do. Because if you don't actually love them, then they don't heal. And you shouldn't be doing it if you are not willing to hurt, right? So that a little kid got to have dance parties for 2 months. And now that's, his body hopefully remembers that when he gets older. And that's a core memory for him. So you guys take a break, or are you like, I'm done, I'm not doing this again?
No. So I couldn't stand the silence. And I just I remember my husband and I praying, and I was just like, okay, what are we doing? 3 days later, we took in twin baby boys at 6 weeks old. So we went from 16 months to like 6 weeks old, and like super preemie, super tiny. And it was an emergency placement because they had been placed in a foster home that was, I don't know how that got approved, but yeah, it ended up being like they were approved through CPS, and there was past removals from one of the parents, and like also drug use in that home. So they went from one to the other, and then one of the babies had a broken leg. So I had to do all the Center for Miracles stuff. And and so that was very different, right? Newborn babies. I was waking up at 3:45 every morning for work, and then every 2 hours to feed kids who were failure to thrive, right, at that point. And so there was a lot of health issues with one of them, the one with the broken leg. He also had swallow issues. And so it was figuring out, navigating all of this. And I remember my husband was like terrified to bathe them because they were so small. So he was just like, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Like now he's completely over that. But like in the beginning, he was like, oh no, you have to do this. Like I'm terrified. They're tiny. And so, yeah, that was a unique experience. And we had them for 18 months. And I think that one has always been our best story. And also like one of the biggest roller coasters of my life, right? Like, because there was a point where they changed the goal to adoption for the twins because mom had gone back out and then she started working services again. But dad was still in the picture. And we actually intervened in the case. And a part of it came from mom was an addict, so am I. And we had a caseworker that understood the addict brain. And so she laid down some boundaries that I still to this day haven't seen another caseworker do. And mom didn't like it because it was frustrating for her. So they had gone to the same sober living facility. So they knew so many people. So she got her thrown off the case, which was an interesting thing. Yeah. And so we got another caseworker who really was... She had too much on her plate is probably what it was, but like also like very absent, right? And like didn't listen to concerns and stuff like that. So when we did intervene in that case, the twins' mom told me later that she was grateful that I laid those boundaries down.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to hear. And also like, and I tell people now, like that's my biggest surprise of foster care is that she is now lives next door to me, like across my driveway. Wow. She is my tenant. She gave us joint managing conservatorship of the boys because we are her only support. Like we are her support system. Yeah. And when the boys left, the boys were 18 months when they left our home. And 3 months later, she called me and I hadn't heard from her for 3 months, which was really tough because again, we love those boys. Yeah. Like we adored them. They were our babies. Like I was there for the first steps, first foods. Yeah. You know, so much healing of their bodies and things like that. And so we were super, very attached. And I have a picture the night before they left of one of the twins just hugging my husband because my husband has always and is still to this day his person. And I'm just like, man, that was so tough being without them for 3 months. But she called us and she had to leave for work to Tennessee and she didn't have anybody who could watch the boys. Wow. And from that moment on, we had them every other weekend. And then it's increased since then. And it's a really cool story. But she's one of my really good friends. We were just at the lake this weekend together with all the kids. So yeah, that's the podcast right before this one is another unique kind of connection with the biological family. And she and Brenda and I fostered along way before you did. And back in those days, they didn't really encourage that. They very much kept foster families and biological families separate intentionally. And we both kind of broke the mold on that of like, I mean, but it's their kid. Like, why would we not share pictures and have conversations and all the things? And that also led to her being able to have a relationship that is, and that's what we were talking about last time was like, the reason that kids go into foster care, yes, abuse and neglect, but also because they have nobody in their community that would raise their hand and say, I'll take them while you work through whatever you need to work through, you know? And then in the best situations like this, the foster parents can become that community, that relationship. Well, and now I'm such an advocate for it because I think that, like you said, they don't have that community or, you know, when you're in addiction, right, you push away a lot of people. I lost a lot of friends of my own. Even when you go through the healing process and you, 4-step is what's called, right. 5th step, right? You go through that and you make amends. Like not everybody is willing to accept it and to move on and to create that relationship, right? And so it's like you've tried to make amends and she has, but some people just aren't willing to have that relationship. Right. And, you know, over the years when the twins turned 3, that's when they moved in across the street, became our tenants, and then recently is when she gave us joint managing conservatorship, but she also said, if anything, because I'm her medical POA, basically, because I'm her person, you know, and she'll call me daily to update me about work, and like I'm, you know, we're very much there for each other through stressful times. Like, she comes to all of our family stuff, like Christmas. Like, my mom's like, I got another kid through this too. Like, it's been a really amazing story. So, like, I never expected that in foster
that's
care.
Not why you went in.
No, but it's also like a really cool story, and like you can see God's hand in it. And yes, there's been a lot of hard in it, and a ton of
definitely probably
things.
has not been the straight up and to the
not
right.
at all. Not at all. It was a roller coaster, right? It took that time, and it took her trusting that we weren't trying to take her kids away too. That our goal is really what's best for them and for her. Because she is such an important piece of their life. And so we've had a lot of conversations around that, a lot of tough conversations around that. We co-parent, we go to the kids' meetings at school together when they call us for a conference.
And the teacher's like, who are you?
I mean, one of the twins is like, I have two mommies. I'm like, this is going to be hard to explain. But that's the stuff that we as the Alliance talk about a lot is just the only thing that changes is not programs. It's not, you know, rehab has a place, foster care has a place. Ultimately, what transforms somebody's lives is relationships. And that's the only thing that actually carries them from A to B, and can keep them supported and walking in the right direction, because the programs are all going to end. And the people are what keep you going. And I think that's been a huge part of, like, Cassandra's our relationship, is that we can, you know, we support each other through sobriety. We've talked about, you know, that part of things as well. And she stays active in recovery, which I'm super proud of her for. Because that is so important to maintain that piece. Because, and like now she goes on ACTS retreats and stuff like that, but she also has us there so that she can go do those things. And when she goes away for the weekend, the boys are like, where's mommy? And I'm like, she's getting closer to Jesus so she can stay healthy for you. And it's like the same thing that she's telling them too. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. And so they have a deeper understanding of why she does a lot of these things too. So it's pretty cool.
And modeling for them that one season doesn't have to be the forever season.
Exactly.
It's just a chapter. So you talked about faith. How has fostering altered, changed, deepened, challenged your faith over the years?
I think it tested through every phase, right? I've been tested a lot. But it definitely has deepened my faith, because again, I went through all those season of loss, and that's a different kind of loss than what this is. And it's definitely helped me dig deeper into it. I feel a much stronger connection. I definitely, like, you know, I don't know, but a lot of people don't know that the 12 steps kind of lead you to your relationship with God, right? But foster care deepened it. Like, it led me there. I've had that relationship, and like, I find peace in worship. I find peace in those things. But like, foster care had me dig deep into some things of my own trauma.
Listen. Yes.
Yep. Right. And like things that I went through and that have made me who I am today, and things that I didn't realize I was still holding on to. And then like, also just really like, okay, you say it's not going to be easy, and it's not. And I really don't understand how people can experience loss in any form without faith. I don't.
Because how do you explain it then?
Like, I don't think I could have survived without God at all. 100%. Like, like I would have been in the deepest, darkest depression without God. 100%.
That was, how do you, and also relapse probably.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So what does the general population, maybe speaks to foster families in general, but what do we not know about addiction? Because a lot of foster families, that's a lot of the reason that kids get removed, is because there's addiction in the home that leads to neglect or leads to abuse. What do we not know about addiction?
I think a lot of people look at people who are addicts and think of them as like, why can't you stop and do what's right for your kids?
Right.
Instead of looking at addiction as the disease that it is. But also there's such a big, I wish that more caseworkers had some licensed chemical dependency background, because I don't think they know enough about addiction to really help addicts. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons we see so many kids come back into foster care, is because either kids are given back too soon and they aren't given that time, or parents aren't given enough of the boundaries. Or it's kind of like, hey, you know, and a lot of these parents have had this happen before, right? And so we see the pattern. They know how the system works, and they work the system,
right?
And they'll do
get sober
for this amount of time, and then I can go right back out as soon as my kids are back, right? And so they know how to work the system, and so I just don't think there's enough structure and boundaries in it when it comes to addiction at all. And I saw that firsthand. I saw it in our last case. I still feel that one. Where I'm just like, this is not how it should look. So I definitely think that most people don't understand the addict mind, and that it is a disease, and that they do have a spiritual malady, and that they are missing that faith aspect as well. So a lot of times, and I've done it myself, we judge biological families, right? But we also don't know their story and what's behind it either.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to find, and it's such a hard, fine line, because we also want what's best for the kids.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
That's the biggest part.
Yeah.
It's such a hard line to walk, because a lot of times I've seen in foster care what's best for the parents happen and not what's best for the kids.
Yep.
And it needs to be, yes, we're trying to help the parents, but at some point there needs to be a time limit on doing what's best for kids, because they're the ones. I remember reading one of the judges in this area say, but kids are resilient. And I'm like, but they shouldn't have to be.
But why are we putting that onus on a 5-year-old?
Right.
Instead
and
of
like
a 35-year-old.
Exactly. Okay. But like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that on some level, I've heard that also. I think on some level, that's what people say to make themselves feel better about what they are doing or have to do or feel like they should do. It's like, oh, well, kids are resilient. Well, yeah, but like you said, why are we even trying to make them resilient? Why are we testing that out? And also, hey, have you ever read the book The Body Keeps the Score? Because
yeah,
I know you carried stuff into your adult life.
100%.
And with just normal people, you know, I say normal people trauma, but like normal traumas of just growing up in a broken world, much less add on the layers of abuse, neglect, the stuff that brings kids into foster care.
Well, I think out of our, 6 cases, because the twins were one, 5 of them have CPS cases in their history too. Yep. Like they were in CPS care at some point. Yep. So it's very much a generational thing, because they are carrying that trauma as well. And it's cyclical, and we're not breaking the cycle.
No.
At all.
And they're oftentimes medicating their brokenness.
Yeah, no, they are 100%. Yeah. Like our last case is probably the toughest pill for me to swallow. He was with me for an entire year before he had any contact with mom.
Wow.
And it was 3 days before trial to terminate. And I had watched a trial beforehand with a different judge for a different kiddo, them terminate the exact same way. But because we had a different judge, we didn't have that same one. They extended the case because mom checked her into a rehab 3 days before trial to terminate.
Played the game.
And the issue with that is that I'm in recovery, and I watch mom do the things and make the steps to get him back, but still be on the highest levels of methadone, which is you're still high.
Right.
All the time. And to this day, a year and a half after his case, almost 2 years now, of him going back, she's still on the same levels of methadone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and there's been some instances of safety concerns.
For sure.
But I'm like, because you're not making the best decisions, because you're not fully you're not sober.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not sobriety.
Yeah.
And I will die on that hill because it's not.
Yeah.
You're using a substance to substitute.
A legal substance for an illegal substance.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And there should be some kind of weaning off stage to see if you can handle not being high.
Yeah.
and living.
Yeah. Yeah. So in kind of that vein, is there a part of the foster care space that you have more compassion for now than you did when you started in? Is it around biofamily? Is it around those moms that are addicts?
It is around moms that are addicts. I would say that I wish there was a space where I could mentor more moms that were addicts. And I will always be an advocate for kids too, and for doing what's better for them as well. I think I've actually talked to my husband, and I'm like, when things start settling down a little bit, I would love to do the CASA situation as well, because I think that is an avenue where you can both be there for the kids and the bio families as well. So that is an avenue that.
And you have more of a voice in that case than you did when you had kids in your,
which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, we've talked about that a lot too. I remember the first time I went to court and I dressed up, and this was, now I know they don't even have them in person, but we're in court and I'm dressed up because I'm thinking they are clearly going to ask me questions because I'm taking care of this kid 24/7.
Nope.
Didn't even acknowledge that I existed.
You don't exist.
It was the wildest, most surreal thing. I'm like, you're asking this guy who just came to my house yesterday for 15 minutes about this child that I've been raising.
I have always wanted to pull my hair out, because out of the 6 cases, we've had one solid attorney that was for the kids, the ad litem, and the rest of them would just call the day before court and be like, hey, this. And I was like, you know nothing about this kid. Like, you've never even seen them.
Yeah. I think that is a major place of reform that
huge.
I would like to be a part of. We've had some conversations, but it's that the bar for ad litems is so low. And there are some incredible ones. I had some incredible ones. Some of my kids had incredible ad litems that literally changed the course of their lives.
Right.
But the bar in general is so low. And the things that you hear in the hallway and outside of what they're saying, it's just, I'm like, how do you go to sleep at night? I'm like, they're not a last name on a manila folder. They are a 2-year-old who likes blueberries more than strawberries, who likes Batman more than Spider-Man. Like, they are a person, and you're treating them like a last name, or like an Amazon package that you're like, well, we'll just decide whether it stays here or goes here.
Big time. And like I said, out of 6 cases, we had one good one that I could say was awesome and advocated for the kids. And that was the twins, and their story is completely different than a lot of kids. Yeah. And I will say, I remember sitting in, it was for my daughter. We were sitting in we were waiting for trial to terminate. And that was what, basically that whole day was all trial day. Yeah. And I watched these attorneys bet time on how long a case to terminate parental rights was going to take on Zoom. Mm-hmm. I was floored. Yeah. I was like, you are betting on time, or you can beat the time of the last case on changing the lives of all these people involved. Yeah. Like, that is so casual. You shouldn't be doing this anymore. No. If you have literally no empathy, no sympathy for what is happening. I was in a court trial for a friend, and it was on Zoom. And the ad litem is at a restaurant ordering a drink, just chilling on Zoom. And I'm like, you're supposed to be advocating for this very vulnerable child, and you're just having appetizers and half barely paying attention to what's going on. Yeah. It's the wildest thing. I'm like, and the thing is, there's no check and balance. Yeah. Zero. Yeah. And I'm a type 8 human. So I'm over here how can I change it? Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So this may be your answer to this question, but is there anything in the foster care space that still is unsettled, is just sitting with you? I mean, obviously the cases of the kids, but is there anything overarching in the whole system that just sits unsettled? I mean, it would be the advocate for the kids, but also just there needs to be an overhaul when it comes to addiction. Because like you said, 95% of cases are addiction related. And I just don't see the positive outcomes that should be if we were doing the right things when it comes to addiction. Yeah. Yeah. And looking at, I think now
When we fostered, it was a different season than it is now in foster care. And there's these pendulum. I've been in it long enough to see these pendulum swings. Right. And we're on this swing where we're sending everybody back. The bar is incredibly low. Yeah. And unfortunately, we're going to have deaths is what's going to happen. Yeah. Because they're sending kids home with addicts that have not recovered. They're sending kids home with, we had some people the other day and their child got placed with grandma who lives on the same property as her son, who's a registered sex offender. Placed a little girl. I'm like, what are we doing? Mm-mm. But, those are the things that nobody's talking about because these kids don't have a voice and the foster families don't have a voice. And maybe the advocate, they get a good advocate, but a lot of times they don't. And they just get to be, oh, we don't have anybody waiting in foster care. Well, can we talk about the outcomes of the ones you just shoved back home and whether that's actually working out? Like, these inflated numbers and we look at numbers and statistics, but we're not telling the stories.
Right. We're not telling how many kids are going back.
Right. And what they're going back to.
Yeah.
And the fact that 6 months later they came back into care because they never should have gone.
Or they didn't come back at all.
Yeah.
And
we don't know where they are.
We don't know. Yeah. And that's the hard part is that I don't think that people really realize, like, when they go home, it's not, especially right now. I'm with you. They're sending kids back and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are these kids' lives not a priority?
Yeah.
Like, I know money has a lot to do with it. And the people who are making these positive changes, and I air quoted that, by the way, are people who have no idea what the foster system is like at all.
Yeah.
They've never experienced it. They don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the unsettled for me. I mean, we're not fostering anymore, but that's still the thing that keeps me awake at night.
Same.
Is just that it's not in 20 years that I've been in it. It largely hasn't changed. It definitely not for the better. I think it's actually gotten worse, which is crazy to say.
I think it's got worse even since we left, which was a year ago now at this point.
Yeah. But then there's the other piece of like, okay, what's the other alternative? We just tell people the system's broken, don't foster because it's messed up. And then we just leave these kids, to navigate a system on their own. No. But it's knowing that you're going into a really hard season. And if, like you said earlier, if you are not a believer and you do not have community, this is going to eat you alive.
100%. Like, I think that, the group that I'm in now at FBC Bernie, we call it the Harbor, it has been amazing. And Rachel does such a good job of bringing people in and they listen to our group talk about all of our struggles, currently fostering. There's a lot of people that are post-adopt or, and the struggles that continue with our kids that are coming out of foster care. And so it gives them a real perspective from all different avenues and ages of fostering and what it really looks like and the struggles that we all deal with. And I think that's been like a huge thing is like, hey, yes, this is the information, this is raw, but like, it's a huge calling. And I do wish more churches were getting involved with actual fostering. Because I see so many people like, I'm over here like, man, should we get back into this? But like, we're just not in that season right now. And I have to be okay with that as well. Because that's really hard to be like, there's so many kids who still need somebody to advocate for them. And like I said, I'm a bulldog, so I will advocate for them even if they don't like me for it. So, and I'm okay because somebody needs to.
Yeah, that's why I definitely know why you're friends with Rachel, because Rachel and I are friends for that same reason. Because we're both like, I mean, it's a good thing that Jesus controls the tongue because
sometimes he doesn't control the face.
We could burn this thing down for sure, because it's such a high sense of justice and such a like, take the hill, we're going to figure this out. This is jacked up. It shouldn't be hurting the most vulnerable, and that very much mother bear or just defender mentality of those personalities. And I'm grateful that there's so many of those type men and women that God drew into the foster care space, because ultimately that's what it needs, is loud voices who are like, I don't care if you like me or not. Like, this is the truth. And I'm not drinking your Kool-Aid and saying things that are not true. We're just going to put it out there. Well, is there anything else that we didn't say that you want to say?
I don't think so. Yeah, not that I can think of.
Well, Shiana, thank you so much for sharing your story and all the work that you've done and loving on kids and loving on moms and in that community at First Baptist and just giving back. So,
yeah.
Hey, if you've enjoyed Running Toward today and this story with Shiana, stay tuned. We've got more of these incredible stories coming. And share and like and follow and comment. And we'll see you next week.